Ole Miss takes on the Citadel tomorrow in what will be an emotional trap game. We talk about that, all of the Florida noise, and the Florida game that is coming up next week and how much fun it could be. We all talk about it with Michael Katz from the Northeast Mississippi Tupelo Daily Journal. Right now, this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. On today's show, we lock in our official picks, and we talk about the Citadel game and what that means to Ole Miss moving forward and why it's kind of an emotional trap game. We'll talk about the Florida noise, and we will also mention the actual game that is going to be played in 8 days and how much fun it could be. The expectations are playoffs or bust at this point, and we'll talk to Michael Katz all about it from the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and a special hello to our insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is. All right, Michael, it is really interesting. This Citadel game is an unbelievable trap game, honestly, but I don't think the Citadel is good enough for that to matter.
Yeah, I mean, it trapped by you might overlook them or it might not be the prettiest thing, but I think the 1 point spread I found was 55, somewhere around there. I know most places aren't doing it because it is expected to be such a blowout. So, yeah, I mean, let's be completely honest. This of all the FCS teams that could threaten, this does not appear to be one of them. That's not disrespect to them. I just think, personnel and all those sorts of things matter in these sorts of games. And I just don't think they're going to have the dogs. That doesn't mean the Bulldogs, if you will. Not like not saying that they might not play well. They're well coached. They're disciplined. They're military school. We expect those sorts of things. But listen, if this is a 2 or 3 touchdown game in the third quarter, if not more than that, I would be surprised. But, again, you're coming into the stretch run of your season. You got 2 really important games after this. You want to start making sure everything's clicking. Last week, the passing game wasn't clicking. You needed to click this week against the Citadel, because if it's not clicking against the Citadel, what's saying how is it going to get better against Florida and State? So I think there's a lot of tune-up things here, but yeah, I agree with the trap game. I just don't think that the opponent has quite enough in the tank for it to really matter, like you said.
Yeah, and honestly, the previous big trap game on the schedule is Washington State, and we all saw how that went. And Washington State didn't have enough in the tank to pull it off at the end. I think this is a game that ideally, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you want Kewan Lacy to have 4 carries and get out of there. You want Trinidad Chambliss to play no more than a half. Give reps to Austin Simmons where you're actually running the offense. And some of the young receivers, maybe a Caleb Cunningham, those guys, Winston, Watkins, let the young guys, Shakai Mills-Knight at running back. You want to see those type of players because that is what this game is for, I think.
Yeah, jump out to that big lead, get your guys out, and let some of the guys who normally wouldn't take meaningful snaps get some action. I think the worst thing that can happen, and we had this in the NFL a couple of days ago with Jaden Daniels in a game that was a blowout that they were losing. You lose your star quarterback. Somebody meaningful gets hurt in a blowout game, and that is the last thing you want. Do what you got to do to win the game, and then get your guys out, because the worst thing that can happen is losing someone in a game that wasn't going to be close either way.
So who do you think? Let's take out the starters out of the equation. Let's assume that they get out there and do that. Give me 2 names of players that you think might flash a little bit in this type of environment.
I could see Winston Watkins. That was a good one. Again, he's already blown the red shirt, so it's not like you're going to save him or anything like that. I feel like this could be a big one for him, just because you would think that some of the older guys probably aren't going to play the whole game. I feel like there could be a running back in there, not named Kewan Lacy. I don't know if it's a Diggs game. Is it a Shakai Mills night game? Like, I feel like there's an opportunity for someone not named Kewan Lacy to have a nice day. And of course, obviously Austin, like you said, I think the thing that I can't stop thinking about is if you take out Trinidad and say Austin plays really well, I'm not doing this conversation again. I'm absolutely not doing this. So that's the first thing that came to my mind. But again, I don't think that they're going to do anything that is they understand what they have. So, but yeah, I would say Mills Knight is an option, and Winston Watkins, and then I think there's some younger, maybe some of those younger, some of those young linebackers could get some time as well.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. The Citadel, they run the football, so anybody wants a short day, you're going to get it because they want to basically – they run the wing T basically. Not necessarily the military academy option. You're going to get some fullback belly and fullback dive in this game, and it'll be a nice little throwback to when you were in high school or when I was in high school. So we'll see exactly how that goes. This is a big game, not necessarily to win the game or style points or anything like that, because win the game by 1 point or win the game by 50 points, it doesn't matter at this point. You're going to get where you want to be. But I think this is important that Trinidad Chambliss and the receivers have a feel-good half, right? To where the passes start hitting just to get ready before you play Florida, because Florida's defensive coordinator is Ron Roberts. Mm. He's run across Lane Kiffin multiple times and multiple stops and has given Lane trouble in each and every one, whether it was at Baylor, whether he was at Auburn or down in Florida. I think it's going to be important that Trinidad Chambliss goes into that game a confident quarterback.
Yeah, just last weekend just looked a little off from the very start. It just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't look quite right from the quarterback to receiver situation. Obviously, I think he threw for like 160 yards, whatever it was. It was his quote-unquote worst game, but he did still run for 60 yards and a touchdown, so that obviously helps. But we have seen games where he's completely in sync with his receivers, and last week was not one of them. And again, like, you need to get that going headed into this stretch, because like you said, that's a really talented Florida defense. Ron Roberts is a guy who's familiar with Lane. You're going to need every part of your offense working. They were last week, the run game was working, so the passing game didn't matter a ton, and they made enough plays in the passing game. Obviously, this weekend it's probably not going to matter. But you're heading these last two games, you really can't afford to have your quarterback being off and your receivers not being on the same page. So I agree. I think this is a really big weekend to sort of get right.
Yeah, and this deep thoughts by Jack Handy type thing. It's kind of funny that when the offense was off and it was down and everybody's kind of gnashing their teeth about what's going on, Ole Miss scored 30 points. Last year, Ole Miss couldn't buy 30 points in an SEC game.
Yeah, no, it is kind of funny how that works, isn't it? Yeah, I know. Different years, perspectives change everything. It is pretty. It is pretty funny though how we're looking very differently on the situations.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Anyway, when we come back, we will move on over to the Florida Gators, both the coaching search and the game, in just a second with Michael Katz of the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. We might even talk to him about his Dodgers a little bit as well. So we'll see exactly how that goes on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. It's almost the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it all down. For Ole Miss, Kewan Lacy delivered in a big way. Ole Miss was up by 9 points. Lacy ended up in the game 167 or so yards, but he busted a 55-yard touchdown play that put away the Gamecocks. When the pressure was on, he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Kewan Lacy is on a streak. And just like Kewan Lacy delivered for the Ole Miss Rebels, DoorDash can deliver for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period runs through November 18th. And do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcatcher you're listening to this show on, and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but helps keep all of this free. Locked On is getting ready to change the game yet again, all in the name of having fun following your team. It's coming in December. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college and pro, is ready for you. So that's pretty cool. All right, Michael, one thing that's interesting in this week, for starters, this channel had 3 videos on Citadel week that is over 7,000. So there's obviously a lot of interest out there in the Lane Kiffin, Florida, LSU, Texas A&M, DeVry, all of that stuff. He's rumored everywhere. He's going to coach all of these programs. But what is your take from this, like 2 weeks into it?
We don't know anything. I don't think anyone really knows anything. I think that, it's probably frustrating for Ole Miss fans that he hasn't come out and said anything, right? Like that would have been the easy thing, like the Kurt Signetti or all these guys who sign extensions. But that's never been the way that he's worked. That's just not the way it goes. This is not a guy, I don't think, who's worried about where he's going to be next year right now. I think he's worried about making the playoff and making a championship run with this team. And I think the best thing they can do is keep winning, because the longer they keep winning and ensuring themselves of being in the playoff, the rest, everything else sort of has to go away. Because if you're trying to make a timely hire, it's going to be hard to hire a coach who wins a playoff game or two. So I don't think we know anything. I know there's a lot going on. It's flight tracker season and it's message board genius season and all these sorts of things. But this isn't like this isn't an 8-3 team where the season's kind of over. Like this is a team that is right in the middle of trying to get to where it wants to be. And I think the last thing on their minds there is probably anything outside of that building. And I know that could be hard for us to imagine, but I think these guys are so like one track mind, and that's the coaches, that's the players. They realize like everything is still right there. Nothing outside of their sphere matters right now. Obviously we're going to talk about it because it's page views and it's views and it's good for business, but I don't think we know anything yet. I think Florida's kind of gone like under the radar a little bit the last week or two, and that's mainly because of things happening in Baton Rouge. Some interesting goings-ons there in administration and whatnot. So I think Florida's kind of flown under the radar a little bit. But listen, if you were worried about losing Lane to those two places, obviously that's fair. But if you're looking at LSU today, that's a really tough situation at the moment with a very weird situation, the president and the AD, and whether an interim is really like, if you take away the interim, does that really mean he's permanent? Just like really weird kind of stuff going on. It's kind of a circus over there. And, Florida has kind of been a circus the last few years too. So, I don't think anything's happened yet, but I think stability is really good to see at Ole Miss right now for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to see all the chatter online and getting comments with a straight face from people that are 3-5 this year. They're not anywhere near the playoff, telling them they can win something at those locations as opposed to the number 6 ranked team in the country. That one's kind of funny to me.
Yeah, it's, again, if you're talking about making the playoff and winning a championship, like he's doing those things right now. And he's had his teams in position the last few years to do those exact same things. Could it get done if he went to Florida or LSU? I mean, maybe. It's possible, but it's also possible it happens in the house he's living in right now. So, yeah. And, again, I don't think Florida has made the CFP.
No,
I don't think.
I don't think they've been in the discussion for it.
Yeah, I mean, LSU obviously had 2019 when they did it, but I don't. And that's a long time since Florida's really been in the hunt for it. And I understand that brand is a big talking point and past championships, but college football's changed a little bit. It's not necessarily about the brand names anymore. It's where can you win, where you align with all of the different pieces of your athletic department. And just kind of looking around the country, that is not the case at a lot of these places. and it is the place. It is the case at Ole Miss, and I don't think that can be like overlooked. I think that is really important in this.
Yeah, they apparently talked to Brent Key from Georgia Tech today, and he just made slice me open and see what color my blood is, and it was like, okay, you're staying at Georgia Tech. Just saying you were staying, that would have worked, but okay, yeah, if you want to do that. But listen, the reality of this situation right now is this has a chance to be an all-time disaster coaching carousel season. I mean, if Lane decides to stay at Ole Miss, all of the other big names are trying to staying where they are. We're talking what, Pat Fitzgerald? I mean, are you going to literally with a straight face, if you're Penn State, say, yeah, we got rid of James Franklin, we brought in Ohio State's offensive coordinator, and you're going to try and spin it like that was your plan all along when it wasn't. What happened is boosters started firing coaches, other boosters started getting FOMO, and nobody took a second to look around and say, wait, this is a game of musical chairs where there's 3 guys out there and now we have 12 openings.
Yeah, so I mean, here's the thing. Lane Kiffin is, despite what the internet might tell you, he's only going to be able to coach one team next year, regardless of who it is. There are much more than one opening right now, and these are big, heavy-hitting places. I think in a normal coaching cycle, there's a few like high-quality guys that everybody kind of wants, and then it kind of wanes down. But there are so many big open jobs now that I think a few people are going to be disappointed in who they end up with, because I just don't think there's that many high-quality candidates, because a lot of these high-quality guys, college football coaches, just got fired, so it's like, I don't know. I understand that it's a knee-jerk business, and with the Penn State thing, losing those games was inexcusable. There's no question the way that they lost those games. But unless you can really say our next coach is going to be better than the guy we had, can you really say that in this cycle? Unless you get the number 1 guy or the number 2 guy, you're probably going to be disappointed. This is the cycle when John Gruden gets hired.
Yeah. And if you look at it like Penn State, doesn't it feel like Phil Fulmer kind of a little bit, Tennessee getting rid of them? We're not going to accept mediocrity anymore. We've risen above that, and you have no plan for down the road.
Well, it's Penn State's season was inexcusable. They were preseason number 1, preseason number 2, whatever it was. You have all these guys coming back. And yeah, this season's been very bad. They were a few points away from making to the national championship game last year. And
calendar year.
Yeah, they have been a consistent 10, 11 win season the last 3 or 4 years under James Franklin. And of course, when you're compared to Ohio State, it's tough, because everyone's always like, oh, well, you can't beat them, or all those sorts of things. But I think that you get to a point where you just kind of got to be like, hey, I think it's okay to win 10 or 11 games every year. We should be happy with that.
Yeah. Why don't we try next year to beat them? I mean, it's there. If your floor is 10 wins a season, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. We've seen programs that sometimes they make the change and the floor gets a lot lower. And then it's like, ooh, man, maybe we shouldn't have done that. And it's too late by then. So it's a wacky cycle. Auburn's obviously open now. Who could have foreseen that happening? But yeah, it's a crazy cycle. Again, only one team is going to have Lane. One team's going to have John Summerall. And then there's all these other coaches or these other teams. And
somebody's going to get James Franklin. I mean, that's going to happen. He's going to end up in some place like Arkansas or Virginia Tech, and it's just like manna from heaven falling into their lap.
Yep, 100%. And people are going to be disappointed that they are getting a coach who, for the most part, has won 10 games his entire career.
Yeah, he won 9 games 2 years in a row at Vanderbilt before NIL and transfer portal came in, when Vanderbilt was really Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think just because you have one bad season doesn't mean you're suddenly a bad coach. Yeah. I think we get very knee jerk in this business, and I get it. There's a lot of money in play, especially now with NIL and boosters and all these sorts of things. But I don't think people just forget how to coach in a year.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk to Michael about the Florida Gators game coming up in 8 days from now, what it matters, how weird is that week going to be, all of that stuff. And then we'll probably give him some props or something for the Dodgers as well. So this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Stick around. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, you get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts fast for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer there. The Part Finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks, by the way, like priority shipping and dedicated support, make the whole process smoother. So join that free Trademaster program today and score some serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5. That's all one word, SHCollege5 for $5 off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, Michael, real quick, this game on next Saturday, 8 days from now, let's say the Citadel game's over. This has a chance to be an all-timer when it comes to weirdness, like 2021 Tennessee all-timer when it comes to weirdness.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness this isn't the road game. That would be next level. Yeah, it's gonna be weird because Florida fans are gonna travel. They want to be here for this too. There's gonna be a lot of signs and weird tweets and T-shirts, and you're gonna have a lot of Ole Miss fans who are hoping that Ole Miss just beats the snot out of them so they can say, "Look, like, why would you leave this?" I imagine there's probably going to be a good amount of our national media friends out here for that one. If nothing else, is Lane going to say something? This has like subtle dig written all over it at some point. Even just like the other day, I'm sure you probably saw this, but when DJ Durkin announced that Derek Nix was going to be the full-time play caller, and Lane said, "What a novel concept." There's always like one in the chamber, and this would be a perfect time for him to do it, especially if he ultimately doesn't go. But yeah, I mean, listen, the game itself, it's not a gimme. That's a really talented Florida team. They have come close.
Although if they're injured like they are going to Kentucky, yes, that may not matter, because if anybody hasn't seen the availability report, Florida's down like 20 players in that game.
Yeah. But when healthy, they're very talented.
Yes.
And then they've played some teams really close, and they've got that win against Texas has actually aged really, really well. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of weird feelings from a lot of places. And I regardless of what happens, next Monday's press conference is going to be electric, and next Saturday's post-game press conference is going to be incredible, because there's going to be questions that have to be asked that no one is going to want the answers to, or is not going to get the answers to. I think there's a good chance that Lane says something really funny regardless.
Yeah, and the teleconference on Wednesday has become must listen as well, because that'll be like Florida beat writers on the phone asking the question.
Yeah, and that's my favorite thing is, like, what's he going to say? He's like, "Oh, well, now that you bring it up, I'm taking the job." Of course. Well, thanks for asking. Like, come on, man, that's not how this works.
What he will probably do, in my opinion, and what I would do, and it's not going to change whether he takes the job or not, but during that week, he will probably just say, he will keep saying something like, "I'm preparing for a playoff run. I'm talking about all of that," as just a little subtle dig to them not doing it.
You remember last year, I think it was before like a few days before the Florida game, he posted the picture of the Gator and just like in the wild, just out of nowhere. And I'm just like, man, he's so good at this. He's got something up. He's got something up his sleeve.
Yeah, he probably has some bookmarks.
I was gonna say, you know, he's been waiting.
Yeah. So there's a chance if he wanted to. Listen, if you want the best atmosphere that Vaught-Hemingway Stadium has ever had, let him do the pregame hottie toddy and say he's staying. You want that place electric?
Yeah,
do that. Now he's not going to do that.
I'm not banking on it, but
it's not going to happen. But my goodness, that place would turn into a cauldron.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Again, like you said, I'm not taking the odds there. Just the way this is usually played out. That would be something though.
All right, so the Evil Empire won another World Series. Good for the lovable losers, the little engines that could out there in Los Angeles. They were able to pull it off against the Blue Jays. Now, the reality of this is, and for anybody that doesn't follow MLB, Toronto, they're not that far off from the Dodgers as far as what they spend. They kind of act the same way. Just everybody forgets about Toronto because they're in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, they did just sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to a $500 million contract. Like, let's like not. This is not a minor league team that made it to the World Series.
This isn't the Brewers.
Yeah, I will say, I was at a game where they lost last week, and that was pretty brutal. But I'm just an all-time great series with just so many crazy plays. That Game 7 was absolutely incredible. I was in the press box after Lane's press conference, standing, just watching. Everyone was just watching me watch the game. A lot of emotions there. Listen, I don't think anybody would have felt bad if the Dodgers had lost, and I get that. But in my defense, the Dodgers were like really bad when I was growing up. So they've only really gotten good in like the last decade. Before that, they were always the team that choked, or they didn't even make the playoffs because like the Diamondbacks were really good when I was growing up. The Rockies had some good teams. The Giants had some good teams, obviously Barry Bonds. So I remember going to a lot of Dodgers games with my family in the summer, and it was like, oh man, they're getting their butts kicked, but at least it's a nice day and there's some good Dodger dogs. So I'm not saying I deserve this or that I've earned this or anything like that. I'm not trying to steal valor here. But the Dodgers were bad for a lot of my life. So a lot of people have been giving me crap. And I'm like, hey, listen, man, if you weren't with me when Hee-Seop Choi was our first baseman, then don't be with me when Freddie Freeman's hitting a walk-off home run in the 18th inning.
Nice. Oh, by the way, I just thought about this when you were talking. How electric is that Dodgers Giants series going to be now with Tony Vitello? Because he's going to talk.
Yeah, I understand taking that job. Like, you can't turn it down if they offer it to you, right? It's a major league job. But man, I don't think I'd really want to go into a division that has the two-time champs, a Padres team that's always in the playoffs and that are always going to spend money. A Diamondbacks team that was in the World Series a couple years ago. I know the Rockies exist, but yeah, man, it's going to be different when you don't have the best players on your team. He's had a lot of the best players on his teams, and that's a credit to recruiting and doing things the way he does. But things operate a little bit differently in the majors, and now instead of having the best player on your team, you're going to have to go against Ohtani and Snell and Yamamoto and Manny Machado and Tatis, and it's going to be different. But I know people have thoughts on Tony Vitello. I think he's a really good coach. I don't know if this works. I have no idea because this is unprecedented. But he's going to talk. He's going to say something.
Yeah. Now Tony Vitello has Rafael Devers out there. So they do have somebody who can hit the ball. All right. What do you have going on at the Daily Journal this week?
Yeah, kind of an interesting week just because I don't want to say like, it's only the Citadel. But, it's a little bit of a different look in terms of in-depth previews. But got a couple of things on really cool talk the other day with Wyatt Williams. He's really become an interesting story. Just with one, I don't think any of us expected him to play as much as he has or have the impact that he has. But just a really interesting background and story. And he's been a guy that Ole Miss has sent out as sort of one of their defensive spokesmen. So Just really cool stuff on him. Daquan Wright had some real fun things to say this week that I believe got cut off of the official YouTube page.
Yes, it did. It did. Because I went in there. I saw your quote sheet, and then I saw the press conference and it wasn't there.
Yeah, but it does exist. I did not make it up. But and then just some classic preview stuff. This is a team that averages 225 yards rushing on the ground, 114 through the air. So you know exactly where you're getting from this team. They are going to run the ball, and if it doesn't work, they're still probably going to run the ball. So just got some preview stuff on that, and of course we'll have your in-game coverage and some post-game stuff too.
All right, Michael, thank you very much for stopping by, and we'll talk to you next week for what will be an amazingly weird game.
Can't wait.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss podcast and see how much we come up. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it's completely free. Your support means the world to us. And thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hotty toddy, and remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.